what we're going to do now is talk through. So the third section, we're going to, very, very high level, we're going to touch on many, many elements of marketing, okay? I do other courses with Henry Schein where we will go deeper, but tonight I want you to start thinking, I want you to start questioning. We can't obviously go through deep, so we're kind of skimming over a lot to start your brain thinking and analysing these. Okay, so I apologise for not going maybe as deep as you can, but the other courses kind of will fill those gaps. So, golden rules, again, is there is no silver bullet, okay? There are many things that we're going to talk about. There are many more that we're not going to talk about that you can do to market your practice. There is no one thing, okay? No one thing that you can do that will guarantee new patients and guarantee that you will keep your existing patients in. If somebody is phoning up and saying that they guarantee, 50 new patients a day, great, but put the phone down, okay? If they're saying this is it, this is what you need to do, put the phone down, okay? There is no silver bullet, there is no magic to marketing, okay? It's consistency. And the other golden rule is being authentic. So, I've talked about corporates. You cannot be a corporate. Don't pretend you're a corporate. Likewise, if your marketing says, we're the friendliest practice in, where are we, Mascot, and your receptionist is grumpy, is that authentic? No? Or if you are marketing yourself as a dental spa and your practice was renovated in 1967 and hasn't been touched since, is that authentic? Okay, so, be proud of who you are. You can only be you. The corporates can't be you. Your competitors can't be you. Be you, understand you, and be authentic with that. Talk about it. Don't try and be somebody else. Be you, be authentic. And the final one, golden rules, is everything is marketing. So, when I said who's here is responsible for the marketing of their practice, and only half of you put your hands up, the reality is that every single communication that you and your team have with your patients affects your brand. Every communication that you have is marketing. And it can be from how your treatment plans are presented to what your receptionist does as she sits there in the quiet times, to what your reception area looks like, okay, to how the phones are answered. Every single interaction that you have with your patients is marketing. Every single interaction. Because if any of those are wrong, can that affect your brand? Absolutely. And if any of those are really great, can that affect your brand? Okay, so everything you do, every member of your team is responsible for the marketing of your practice. Okay? So your brand is not just your logo, it's every communication, it's your name, it's your tagline, your logo, your premises, what your team's wearing, your website. Every single thing in your practice is your brand. Okay? And how I'm going to talk about tonight is I'm going to say your foundations, okay, the things that are critical, the things that Alvin Lowe from No Gaps Dental did incredibly well. External marketing. Does everybody know what external marketing is? External marketing is what you need to do to get your patients into your practice. Internal marketing is what you do to keep your patients in. So I'm going to split it into 3 sections so you can, in your head go, yeah, I think foundations were doing really well. External, yeah, okay. Internal, not going so well. So from a very high level, you can kind of go, yes, great, no, not good. Okay? And then within those, I'm going to talk about different elements. I can't talk about everything. I will not talk about everything in the workbook, but I will touch on as much as I can in the time we have. But each of those elements I want you to think about, do you need to start it? Do you need to stop it because it's not working? Continue doing it, or is it just not working and we need to change it? Okay? So start, stop, continue, change. And then you've got the little colours there, so you can just tick the box and make a few notes. Okay, so I just want you to, I'll go through a section and then just rate yourself, see how you're going, so that at the end you will hopefully be able to have something that says, okay, this is what we need to focus on for the next year. So foundations. The reality is your patients are bombarded with marketing messages, okay? Absolutely bombarded. You know, think about your day-to-day. How many marketing messages have you seen on social media, in the car, on the radio, reading the paper, you know, walking around the showroom tonight? Thousands and thousands and thousands of messages, okay? Your patients are being bombarded with messages. And if you're trying and you're sending a 6-monthly reminder, you know, happy postcard, think about all that noise that your marketing message has got to get through. Are you aware of the saturation, the situation we're in at the moment? You know, so with that, they're bombarded, okay? They're overwhelmed. There's just so much noise. But likewise, because they're bombarded, their expectations of what service providers should be saying and how they should market is higher. Okay, because they see the best of the best. They see, you know, the apples of the world. Okay, and you are comparing or you're competing for their dollar. Okay, discretionary spend. My favourite slide for those of you that haven't seen it. You know, once upon a time, it used to be okay to have, you know, a clip art logo that your nephew created. All right? One of these days, somebody's going to be in the room that, is this anybody's logo? It's going to happen. You know, once upon a time, it used to be okay to have a well-designed logo and then to get somebody in your team just to do an advert in Word. Okay, and it didn't really matter whether it looked okay and whether the fonts were different and the colours were different. Okay, it's not okay anymore. Do you know why? Because of these guys. You know, we've talked about these guys. Your patients have got a choice. Okay, between this and this. You know, this is the reality, guys. Your patients have a choice. Now, your patients don't actually have any way of judging your clinical skills. So what do you think your patients might think of the clinical skills? You know, we all know the reality. But your patients don't, okay? Your patients will judge your clinical skills on how you're presenting, right or wrong, okay? That is the reality. Would you agree? Okay, it shouldn't be the case. So you need to compete. You need to look on par with these guys. I also know that you haven't probably got the budget of Maven or Bupa. If you have, talk to me, okay? But you can look on par. This is a practice just down the coast that needed to be rebranded. They needed to look modern, you know, and I think it looks pretty good. Okay? It looks on par. Okay? So assess where you're at. You know, you need to look consistent. You need to look professional because it actually affects your brand. It affects what people think about your practice. Okay? So, if there's anything you want to scribble down, if there's anything that you know needs to be fixed, you know, with your branding, just quickly scribble. Otherwise, I will zoom on. You know, and it might be that it's great, you know? Give yourself a tick. Fantastic. Because the reality is, you know, marketing we've talked about is all about relationships. It's about interactions, okay? And we know, and you guys will know this, 81% of patients come to dental practice through word of mouth. Think of your own practices. Hopefully it's about that mark. But did you know that 85% of your patients will leave because of perception of a lack of service? How scary is that? So people come and leave for the same reason. So, I can spend all night talking about Instagram, but actually the reality is the people in your practice are not doing their job properly. There really is no point in us talking about anything else. Would you agree? So it is time for you to sit there and for you to think about the people in your practice. This is the basics guide, but this is important. This is critical. You can spend thousands of dollars getting people to phone your practice. But if the phone is not being answered, well, are they going to book in? No way. Okay? Or if the first impression when they walk through the door is not a great impression, are they going to come back? Remember, average lifetime value of a patient. Okay? You need to keep them in the practice. How are you relating? How's the team relating? How's the team interacting? Okay? How are they being treated? And how are you communicating your treatment plans? Okay? How much have you got? Have you heard of the golden filing cabinet? How much have you got sitting in outstanding treatment plans because something here is broken? There is no point in you spending any dollars on any forms of marketing if this is broken and this is fundamentally broken. So think about your team. I love this. Can you believe that this place exists? Look at the clock. Think about your practice's appearance. Okay? I know you guys will not see it. Okay, I know you guys go in every day and you do not see this. I hope you don't see this with a rocking chair. Okay?
Nice touch.
I know, it's good, isn't it?
It's just long-standing practice.
You get some style ideas, I like it. Okay? But what are you not seeing in your practice? Okay? There's a practice not far from here that I went in to visit, and they said, look, come and have a look, come and meet the team, see what we're doing badly. And it was an old house, could have been a beautiful old house, but it was looking a bit tired. Walked down the side of the house, and the gold sign was tarnished and, a bit wonky. Walked through the door, and there was the reception area with the laminated turn your mobile phones off sign. Remember those? Seriously? Sagging couch, dead pot plant, there was a coat rail that was leaning over, children's area that you wouldn't put a child in without risk of them catching something. But there was a hole in the wall where the door had been opened. Okay? First impressions. I then walked into the treatment rooms. What did I see? Come on, what did I see? Latest technology, the best. Okay? Think about your patient. What do you think the patient is sitting in that reception area thinking? Can't wait to get into the treatment rooms, I'm going to see the latest technology. No way. Okay? How are your patients being greeted? What are they seeing when they first walk in to your practice? Okay, so just go back tomorrow, fresh pair of eyes. All right? Your signage, upholstery, paintwork, magazines. We've talked about the iPhones and we've talked about the cruise ships. Are they sitting there reading magazines thinking, oh, I didn't know there was a new iPhone XS PWZ for $5,000. Oh, I think I need one of those. Okay? Just go back into your practice tomorrow and just have a look. You know, what is it that you are not seeing and what needs to be changed? Your table, has it gone yet? Okay, have a look. So, foundations, okay? Foundations are built over time, okay? It's good brand. So look at your team, look at your brand, see what needs to be fixed, okay? So spend a few minutes, just fill in the rest of the foundations area, see if there's anything that you should be doing when you go back to your practice that needs to be fixing. So marketing messaging is what you're saying about your practice. About, you know, when I was talking about being authentic and whether you're saying that you are the friendliest practice and actually you've got the grumpiest receptionist. So it's, you know, when I was talking about authenticity, about what you're saying about your practice, you know, whether you are like the practice in Melbourne, you know, she's been there for 20 years, but she hasn't mentioned it. You know, she hasn't mentioned that she's the most established practice in her suburb. So what is it that you are saying about your practice and what is it that you're not saying about your practice? Can I use you guys as an example? So these guys have got, you know, a big practice, you know, full service, but you weren't mentioning it to anybody, were you? Nobody knew that they were delivering all of these services. So, you know, it's not just what you're saying, it's what you're not saying. You know, what is so obvious to you guys that you're forgetting to mention to your patients. All right, internal versus external. So again, just reminding you, external is everything you do to bring new patients in. Internal is everything that you do to keep your patients in your practice. You know, people say, well, what do I need? Both. Logically, would you agree? You know, practices have people that leave, you need new patients in, but you've got patients and hey, you need to keep them in, okay? So most practices will need both forms, but they should be thought about differently because they have a different objective. External marketing. So the first thing that you need to do is to get patients in. And there are many things that you can do to market. I'm going to touch, and this is high level, guys, because the other courses will go deeper on a few of these, okay? And it is consciously high level. So the first thing I want to talk about is your website. Anybody know why I'm going to talk about website first?
First point of interaction.
Absolutely, first point of interaction. So we've heard that 81% on average, word of mouth. Whenever you hear about anything new, what's the first thing you do? Check them online. Okay, so even if word of mouth is how you get your patients, they're still going to look at you online. And what's the first place they go to? It's your website. So it absolutely needs to be the first point and your priority, okay? First point of contact, 8 to 10 seconds. I actually don't believe that. I think it's probably, what do you think, 2 to 3 seconds? People will look at a website and then go away. I don't think people nowadays will spend 10 seconds looking at your website before they click off, okay? And it needs to reflect who you are. Back to the corporates, back to you guys needing to be who you are. Absolutely needs to reflect. Is it okay if I use you as an example? Won't mention your practice, other suburb, but I was reviewing their website and it didn't reflect the ideal patient. Didn't reflect the people in the suburb. It just didn't marry up with the suburb and the vibe of the practice. You know, polar opposites, weren't they? So, you know, it really needs to reflect who you are and what you believe in. And I'll show you some examples. Okay, but from a high level, you know, people come to your website for a reason. They're not there because they want to read dental websites on their Saturday night. That's my secret story, but everybody else, they don't want to do it, okay? Navigation, they're there for a reason. You need to make it easy for them to find the information they're there to find. Content, it's got to be quick and easy to locate, and I'll talk about all of these. And images, you need to have the right images on your website. So content, Okay, people are there to find out information. However, only 28% of the content on your website is actually read. You know, think about it yourself. When you go to a website, are you reading every single word? Or are you there, you're scanning and browsing, yeah, true, looking for the information. Therefore, there is an art to making your content easy to scan. Because you need to help people find the information. And if they can't find the information easily, they will click away. Content. I've said that only 28% of the content gets read by the people, but do you know who reads all of the content? Our friend Google, absolutely. So I hear from lots of practices saying, oh, I don't want to be one of those websites that has lots of content because nobody's going to read my content. I'm like, yep, probably right, but Google's going to read your content. And you need to have a page that is dedicated to implants. You know, and you need to have a page that's dedicated to teeth whitening. Because if you only have a paragraph, Google is not actually going to register that you're delivering implants or teeth whitening. So you need to have enough content for it to rank. Okay, so it's the fine art. It's the fine art of having enough content, but having it structured in a certain way so that it is easy to browse and scan. So who here would like to read this on their Saturday night? Nobody. Probably not even the dentist himself. Okay, there is a way of being able to structure the content. And this is it. This is the science. All right, you need headings. People are scanning for information, remember, so you have to structure it so they can scan. Headings, bullets, that I can follow them down. Image, gives her that human feel, more approachable. Bold for anything that you need to stand out. A quote, if there's anything that you stand for, anything that you really stand against or stand for. And the calls to action, what you want them to do next. Are you guys aware that number one page that people visit is the home page, obviously? Do you know what the second most visited page is on a website in general? Yeah, about us, meet the team. Okay? People are buying from people. Back to the corporates. People want to know about the team. Back to the stats, 81% of practices, it comes through word of mouth. They've heard about you. They want to see you. They want to read about you. Does this all make sense? So this is really important. Okay? Images, really important. More on images. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Okay? Images absolutely are critical to the website. Needs to have the same look and feel, you know. Back to the practice example, your practice example, it needs to have that feel, it needs to have that vibe. You need to have the images on there. You know, again, corporates can't be you. If you're using stock images that make you look like everybody else, there is no differentiator. And people are buying from people. People want to know about the people behind a practice, okay? Critical. Did you also know that, you know all the pictures of the happy family and the lady with the apple? Are you aware of how many of these stock images are now out in circulation? And are you aware that people don't even see them? So they're blind to stock images. They don't register. There's no emotion when they see those images. So if your website is built up of lots of stock images, people visiting will have no emotion, attachment, reaction whatsoever. They will not be able to differentiate you to anybody else. So number one. Number two, the reason you need images on your website of your team is because the human brain doesn't know the difference between a photograph and reality. Okay? If somebody's been to your website and they see your reception area and they see your receptionist and they see your team and they see your uniform and they make an emotional connection and go, oh, that looks quite nice, and phone and get a great feeling. When they walk in to your practice, their mind Doesn't think, oh, I've never been here before, this is all new. It goes, ah, yes, I recognise it, I've seen it. Okay, saw it on the website. And they're feeling more relaxed and more comfortable. Who here would like new patients when they first walk into your practice to feel more relaxed and more comfortable? You guys are dentists, you know? So it's really, really important, if you can, to use images on your website of your team. Make yourself look different. A few examples, okay? Just to show you how different photographs used in different ways can give a different feeling. Okay, does everybody know Greenwood? Most people. So, you know, it's a big practice. They've had a new website since then. But anyway. You know, it looks big, it looks modern. You know, some people will say, oh, it looks a bit too big and flashy for me, and that's okay. Because it might be a bit too big and flashy for them in real life. Okay, but you get a feel of the practice, would you agree? You know, team looks friendly, looks nice. This one, Macquarie Park, completely different feeling. Would you agree? You know, relaxed, funny. You know, it's a small practice. And do you think this is what you'd get when you walk in there? Just kind of a laid back feel? It's going to work for some people, not for others. So these are all sites that we've done. This one is in Melbourne. You know, I find it, you know, it's darker, it's more corporate. You know, it's going to appeal to some people, not others. But do you think this reflects the practice? And then this one, I love because it's a play on the apple. You know, the lady with the apple. This is in the CBD. It's a one-chair practice, little practice, pretty quirky, fun. But can you see how different images, different designs give you a different feel of the practice? But you can get a sense of what that practice might be from the design. How about this one? And this is so I don't offend anybody. This is where I grew up in the UK. And I'm using this as an example of stock images. And I know that not everybody can afford stock images. Okay? But who here thinks that this is the dental team? Okay, it's not. So why use an image that is absolutely not the dental team? Okay? And do you think this is the support staff? No. Why use it? Okay, the website guy might go, hey, these are really cool images of a dental team and support staff that I found on Google. No. Okay? If you can't afford stock images, if you can't afford professional images, choose your stock images really carefully. Is that okay? Websites. Does this look familiar? The whole world is on their mobile phone. Yeah? Do you think when they're looking for a dental practice, they could be looking on a mobile phone? Who here, if they were sitting on that bus, train, or whatever it was, train, would phone up practice number 1 with the website number 1? No way. How about number 2? Okay? What does your website look like on a mobile? Have you looked at it recently? Now, not only do your patients care about this, but Google cares. And since March 2016, your website will have been marked lower on Google if it doesn't work on mobile. Okay? It's nearly 3 years. So it's absolutely important that you know whether your website is mobile friendly or not. Okay? And then the other courses we go in and go deeper in a lot of these things. So think about your website, think about your photography, think about what needs to change. Or think about what's working. All right, I'll give you a couple of minutes. And shout if you have any questions. Okay, I'm going to keep going if that's okay with you. So, search marketing. This is my best joke of the night. Where's the best place to hide a dead body?
Third page of Google.
Okay, yeah, we've talked about, you know, your website and having a great, beautiful website, but the reality is that you can have the greatest looking website on the planet, but if nobody can find it, you know, really, what's the point? So I just want to educate you guys on the difference between the terms. I can't go deeper. I can't explain why or what or how. I just want you to be aware of the different terms. So everybody heard the term search engine optimization, pay-per-click. Beautiful. I'll be quick because maybe you know it already. Everybody familiar? You know, when you Google, what have I done? St. Leonard's Dentist, there's the bit at the top. There's the bit in the middle with the map, bit at the bottom. The bit at the top, quite simply, is the pay-per-click area. It's the AdWords area. It's the place that you pay to be. Is anybody using pay-per-click AdWords at the moment? Okay. It's a great place to go if you need patients quickly. Okay? It's the only way that you can get onto the first page of Google is by paying a huge amount of money is the reality. Okay? Costs a lot. But if you do need, if you're in that rapid growth stage, if you really need to fill somebody's books, this is a good place to start and an expensive place to start. It is also good because you can cancel it. You know? You can say, okay, let's go. Done. Off. Off, on, off, on. The bad thing is once you've paid the money, it's gone. You know, it's like a newspaper ad. You put it in 1 week, gone the next. There's nothing permanent. Okay? But it's great if you need to switch on the tap. Bottom bit underneath the map is organic search, search engine optimization. Everybody familiar with this term? And this is organic. You know, this is where you grow. This is where you grow the position of your website. And it's a bit like planting seeds. You know, it takes time and it takes work and it takes, you know, nurturing. But once you've built it, hopefully you've built something quite stable. You've built a, you know, beautiful oak tree. It will last there longer. That the investment you've made in nurturing the organic side, you know, the seeds, then hopefully it leaves you in good stead. It is dependent on many things. There is a whole section in the book. Okay, we'll talk about it under the courses and how you improve your SEO of a website. But what you need to understand from tonight is it takes time. It can take over 6 months for you to start building your SEO, your organic positioning of your website. If you are one of the unlucky practices in the middle of the CBD, it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer than 6 months to even budge because there is saturation. Okay, if you're in, you know, country New South Wales and there's you and 2 other practices, it's not going to take 6 months. So 6 months is a vague number because it's obviously dependent on your competition, but it takes time. However, it is much better in the long run than pay-per-click. Pay-per-click, you pay the money, it's gone, remember? SEO, you build it up over time, but you have the benefit over time. So SEO is what you really need to be thinking about for your website, unless you need patients in. Okay, so SEO is long term. Okay, pay-per-click is short term. If you are using pay-per-click, great, but do not forget about your SEO. You need to be doing them both. Is that clear? That's okay? You know, I know it's high level, but I just want to make you guys aware. You know, and in your heads think, okay, well, what do I need to do for my practice? Where do I need to focus? Because you need to think about the rank of your website. Okay, the final one on the front page of Google is Google My Business. Everybody here heard of Google My Business? Everybody here claimed their Google My Business page. Okay, it is the front page of Google. It's that funny little map that has the businesses here with the good old-fashioned stars. Okay, the reason that this is really important is because the top 3 get 50% of Google's traffic. Okay, in the other courses we talk a lot more about this, but from a very, very high level, this is what your page should look like, your listing should look like. Has everybody claimed their listing? Not sure? Okay, great. If you're not sure, find out, okay? If you haven't, claim it. It is free. It's the only thing on Google that is free. And, well, you still can pay. So claim it. They will ask you lots of questions. They'll ask you opening times, payment ways. They will ask you what services you offer. Fill in everything. You know, if Google asks you a question, answer the question, okay? You know, you need to verify your location, so you'll be sent a postcard or they'll give you a ring and give you a code to verify it. Then add photos, update your profile, okay? And then make sure, and this is you'll think I'm being really pedantic and weird, but make sure that your name, address and phone number are identical on your listing. If your website says Suite 504 1 the High Street and your Google listing says 504/1 the High Street, it's not going to marry you up. Okay, if you have a Yellow Pages ad and it's got a different address, again, it won't marry you up. So it's actually really important. It may sound like a little minor thing, but make sure that your name, address and phone number were identical. I mean, we found with you guys, didn't we, that you didn't have the right business name. So, you know, it is important to make sure that these are identical. And the final one is the reviews. Okay, and in the other courses we can spend hours talking about Google reviews and the importance of Google reviews. Okay, and I touch on it in a minute. But if you do have reviews on your Google listing, the good, the bad and the ugly, make sure you respond to them because it actually makes a difference on your Google ranking as well. All good? All right. Spend a couple of minutes scribbling down anything about SEO, pay-per-click and Google Business, My Business, and shout out if you have any questions as well. Who here is using social media in their practice? Okay, half the room thinking about it. I won't show that because we are running out of time, but the reality is, you know, social media is here to stay. You know, if you're not on it, your competitors are. It's absolutely something to consider. You know, the reason that it's here is people want to buy from people. You know, it's the human side. It's back to this, you know, you versus the corporates again. It's the place that you can position yourself as the local, as the friendly, as the practice that cares, okay? It is a good place to be because there is a lot of misunderstanding and confusion about it that we actually did an entire seminar in, was it August? August on social media, and the event sold out all over Australia. It just sold out because the need for this is huge. So, you know, it's there. I can't go deeply into it tonight, but you know, think about whether it's right for your practice. You know, if you do think it's right, you know, start gradually, you know, back to being authentic. You know, show the authentic side of you and your practice. You know, talk about what you care about, be part of your community, share what's going on in your community. You know, make sure that you're educating, make sure that you're informing, because you know that's part of your job as well. You know, one of the things that people don't do is ask. They don't say, hey, you know, if you love us, tell your friends. They don't say, have you booked in? You know, have a conversation. And the APRA guidelines, you know, just make sure that you are across those. We are going to do another social media seminar this year, which is in August, which will be the updated version with the latest tools, with whatever has changed in the whole year, because I'm sure a whole ton of stuff will have done. So if that is of interest, we will be doing an August event. I don't know the exact dates, but again, if you fill in the form, say, want to know about the seminars, we can make sure that we get that information out to you. So, high level, radio, print, TV. Who here is doing any of these three? Print? Yeah. So, it can be expensive. It can be hard to track. You know, it can be an area where people make a huge amount of mistakes. So the practice that I was talking about before, they put the same ad in for the last 2 years. They hadn't changed. And I'm saying, well, why didn't you change it? Why haven't you reduced it? And they're like, well, we daren't because it might work. Okay, so it is incredibly, incredibly hard to track. It's more of ego type of advertising. It's about getting your name out there as opposed to get specific calls to action. But if you are thinking about radio, print, or TV, you know, think about your demographic, think about your ideal patient. Back to the example of the practice in the middle of Sydney CBD that was going to advertise on radio to the whole of New South Wales. It's never going to work. You're going to waste your money. Or if your target market are seniors and you're advertising the local school newspaper, again, you know, think about your demographic. So make sure that it works for your demographic, it works financially for you. There was another practice, and I know I made a joke about the Vogue magazine, but they actually contacted us. It's a practice that we're doing the consulting work for. And they said, guess what? We've been given a great bargain. We can advertise in Vogue. Once. I'm like, you know, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I literally recorded, I think it was 9 minutes of the reasons why they shouldn't do it. Okay. Frequency versus reach. Any of these types of advertising, radio, TV, print, you've got to think of them with a filter of frequency versus reach. So to try and explain this a little bit more clearly, you know, you've got marketing dollars to spend, okay? And you have the choice on how you spend those marketing dollars, true? You have the choice, let's go back to the tree analogy, you've got a choice of buying 100 saplings and you've got enough money to be able to water those 100 saplings, okay? Or you've got the opportunity to buy one sapling, okay? What do you think you're going to have more traction with? Many or just one? Are you going to have more traction with one advert in Vogue or 2 years worth of advertising in your local newspaper? Okay? More. Always go with frequency. Okay? You may be able to advertise once with Vogue to the whole of to the whole of Australia. Huge reach. Millions of people will read that magazine and maybe see your advert, but it's once. Okay? Always, 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 always do frequency. So your marketing dollars, just make sure that you're spending your marketing dollars wisely, because the reality is if you're doing reach, you know, Vogue magazine, without frequency, you know, money down the drain, just wasting your money. Is that clear? Okay. Final word on this is if you are doing print, TV or radio, has to appeal to your ideal patient, has to be where they are, needs to grab their attention, and you need to have a strong call to action. It can't just be, hey, we're here. You know? It has to be, hey, we're here, you know, phone us now, and this is the reason. Okay? Don't just go, we're awesome, you know? And make sure, again, obviously, that it really looks on brand, it's well produced, okay, that somebody hasn't just thrown it together. Is that okay? All right. Just a minute, if any of you are doing print, radio, TV, any of you have any thoughts about this, just jot down the notes, capture the thoughts now. You know, and I'm not saying that this is a bad form of advertising. You know, in the regional areas, TV and radio can have a really good impact. So I'm not saying don't do it, just evaluate. Okay, all right. Final bit, okay, internal marketing. The mistake that I see so many practices make is that they forget about their existing patients, that they spend lots of time and lots of money and lots of effort and lots of thought thinking about getting new patients into their practice. Who here is guilty about got to get new patients, got to get new patients, got to get new patients, and then forgetting about their existing patients? It's absolutely critical that you start thinking about your existing patients. Did you know that it costs 5 to 10 times more to get new patients into your practice than it does to retain your existing patients? 5 to 10 times more. You don't want to lose them. Okay? Really important to keep them in. So again, there are a whole raft of things that you can do to keep your patients in your practice. And I'm just going to cover 3 tonight. So, you know, your existing patient base is your most valuable asset. When you sell your practice, or when somebody buys your practice, what are they buying? Goodwill. Okay, your most valuable asset are your patients. And the majority of practices forget about their patients. Anybody guilty? The studies show, and in the book it has the studies, but one of the main reasons that patients leave a practice is because of the perception that the practice doesn't actually stay in touch. So patients actually want to be communicated with. So it's absolutely critical that you start thinking about how you are communicating with your existing patients. Golden filing cabinet again. Number 1, email newsletters. Is anybody doing it? No. Okay. For me, for external marketing, you absolutely, the one thing you need to do is your website. Internal marketing, the one thing you should be doing, sending email newsletters. So back to your question about why you should be tracking the numbers of email addresses, it's because of this. Because this is one of the easiest, most cost-effective ways of you being able to communicate with your existing patients. So again, in my other seminar, I show you some stats. But one of the arguments that I normally get is, who on earth is going to read an email newsletter from a dentist? And the reality is the people that read the email newsletters or see the email newsletters are the ones that know they need to come back in. Okay? They're the ones that know that they're overdue for a checkup. They're the ones that know they need to come back for their implant. Okay? Because it's at the back of their mind. True? They know they need to come back in. But they just haven't got round to it because they're busy, because everybody's busy. Okay? So an email newsletter is a gentle prompt. It's a gentle reminder for people to come back in. And I do a retention seminar, and we go through some of the stats on this, but the stats for email newsletters for dentists are really high. They're much higher than average. It's permission based. It's a gentle reminder. They can opt out if they don't want it. But the number of clicks and the number of open rates and the number of people that want to know more information about is quite staggeringly high. So, email newsletters. People open them because it's a gentle prompt. People click on them because it's a gentle prompt. The great thing about this compared to your newspaper ad is, if this is your newspaper ad, do you know how many people open this page? Do you know how many people read this page? Do you know how many people cut it out and put it on their fridge? No idea. With your email newsletters, you know exactly who's opened, you know exactly who's clicked. One of our consulting clients that I was talking to last week, You know, we were looking through, he's having a summer teeth whitening offer, and it's like, okay, we're pulling the results of exactly who's clicked. What are we going to do with that? What do you want to do as the next stage with the people that have actually clicked on your teeth whitening offer? So, you know exactly who's opened, who's clicked, who's unsubscribed, you know, what articles they're interested in. You can't get that from any other type of marketing. And this is permission based. You get to ask your patients if they want to do it. And if they don't, they unsubscribe. Okay? For me, it's a win, 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 win. You know, we know that patients leave because of the perception that you haven't kept in contact with them. Here it is. We know practices that are bringing in services and they're not communicating with their patients. They don't know that they're doing injectables. Okay? It's the answer to many problems. The great thing, the icing on the cake of this, search engine optimization. Google expects you to keep your website up to date and refresh the content. Lo and behold, where do you think all the articles for your newsletter live? On your website. Okay? I truly believe that the email newsletters tick so many boxes. I really do. Okay? Waiting room video. So back to your waiting room, back to the magazines. They're sitting there on their phone, they're reading the magazine and finding out the latest iPhone. You know, what would you prefer them to do? You know, is there an opportunity for you to be educating and talking to your patients? Waiting room videos, however they're done, okay, is a way of you being able to educate, you know, to entertain, and to subtly talk about the services that you're doing or special offers, promotions. I'm going to show one or two videos, you know, that Justin was talking about. See, I think the fact that people are sitting in your waiting room and there is an opportunity for you to talk to them, you know, I think that is an opportunity. Whether, you know, it's aligned with your values, you know, they're trying to be entertaining. I get it. So watch this space. Be interesting to hear what you say. So, incentive-based selling, incentive-based marketing. Who here uses promotions of any kind in their practice? Okay. Love it or hate it. Objective of tonight is for you to think about things, okay? I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm saying think about it. So, but the reality is people are procrastinators, okay? We know that you've got the golden filing cabinet of people with outstanding treatment plans, okay? What could you do to get them back in? You know, promotions, however they are, whatever they are, is a way of being able to do this. 81% of Australians have purchased something because of a promotional offer. I disagree. I reckon 100% of Australians have bought something because... Do you agree? Is it... Poll, has anybody ever not bought anything because it's on special? I've yet to meet that person. Okay? You know, promotions have a place, okay? If it is appropriate for you. You know, they're good for existing patients, the golden filing cabinet, you know, attracting new patients, but they absolutely need to be aligned with your practice goals, you know, what you want to achieve. So, you know, and I'm absolutely not saying what you should do is do money off, money off, money off, money off at all. But what I'm saying is, you know, the corporates, you know, this is how they market, this is how they compete. You know, what can you do to play their game, but on your own terms? You know, what promotions could you put in place for your practice? You know, and if you are thinking about promotions, make sure with every single piece of marketing you need to plan it. You know, what are you trying to achieve? You know, what services are you trying to promote? When you're going to do this? Classic of a practice up in Queensland, you know, I was saying about knowing your ideal patient. He absolutely knew who his ideal patient was. And he said 45 to 65-year-olds, high net worth individuals, empty nesters. He knew it, nailed it. He just ran a mouth guards campaign. And I'm like, why? Because practice down the road did. Okay? You know, if you're running campaigns, can you think about it, please? Think about it. You know, how you're going to promote it. Remember, 6 to 11 times for a message to land. You know, promote it through all of your channels, on your website, in your email newsletters, on social media, in your practice. So if you are going to do this, do it well. And then obviously track. You know, not all campaigns, not all promotions are going to work. Track which ones worked, what didn't. You know, what needs to change. Okay, so promotions definitely have a place. What they are, what you're promoting, how they work is then another conversation. Is that okay? Try and put tracking codes on things. So if you're putting a newspaper ad, put a tracking code in and say, when you phone, please use, you know, 123 XYZ. Please quote this, okay? Or print, you know, to get this offer, print it out and bring it in. So there are things that you can do to make it easier, okay? But yes, it's not ideal and you can't always track it exactly, but there are things that you can do to make it a little bit easier. And the reality is if you did this Invisalign promotion and you put it in the newspaper, and if you put it on social media and you put it in your email newsletters and you got a great return on investment, fantastic, do it again. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can actually just, you know, track that promotion, knowing that you put it out in multiple places and then assess it. Is that okay? Okay. So reputation management. All right. One of the things that I see in practices is they don't know what's being said about them online. Who here is tracking and knows what's being said about you and your practice? This is a real website. This guy hated his dentist so much that he created a website. And he was so good at SEO that it actually ranked above the practice's website. I've actually blanked out the practice's name, obviously. It was in America. And I'm hoping that this is not your practice. Okay? But, you know, the reality is people are going to be saying things about you. They're hopefully not going to be saying this about you, but they may well be giving you 1-star reviews. Okay? Do you think it's important for you to know what people are saying about you online? Do you think if they're saying the receptionist is the grumpiest receptionist that I've ever met in my entire life, do you think you need to know about that so you can change things in your business? If they're saying the receptionist is the friendliest human being, you know, that I've ever met, do you think that would be great to know? Okay. Or I'm sick and tired of waiting 15 minutes every time I come. Do you think you can make some changes? Yeah, you need to monitor this. Okay, you need to know what people are saying about you. Okay, and you need to respond, you know, so monitor your reviews. We normally have lots of conversations. We can't tonight, okay? Talk about this in the other courses. You need to monitor reviews. You need to respond to your reviews, the good, bad, and the ugly, okay? Absolutely critical. You need to know what people are saying about you. And you can't ask for reviews and you can't use them in your marketing, the APRA guidelines. Okay, you could end up with being reported to the dental board and a $5,000 to $10,000 fine. So, not okay. So please, 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 please stop monitoring your reviews. It's really, really critical. And we will cover that in the patient retention seminar in April, if you do want to go deeper. Okay, so quickly, I might go over by 5 or 10 minutes. Is that okay? I train for the ADA. You cannot ask for reviews. Okay, you cannot ask for reviews. Monitor them, please. Listen to them. You know, 101, just start hearing what people are saying about you.